And so we ended up going to the Dental Entrepreneurial Organizations meeting. This one was an annual summit. That this one was referred to as the I guess the what was it, the future of dentistry. And there was the summit on just what is it going to be in the future. And I think maybe we should probably discuss like what the DEO actually is. It's sort of an organization, I guess, that
it's
designed for group practices, for individuals who are interested in group practices.
Right. So,
and young entrepreneurs.
Right. So we met people there that have group practices that range in size from, like us, 2, 3 practices, practice locations, to 25 on the way up to about 100. So it ranges in size, but they also have different practice philosophies. So all that changes with, I don't know if that changes with size necessarily, but it's just, they like to try to make everything as organized and as uniform from practice to practice as possible. So that was one of the main things. But they were talking about different things like how to gain financing, whether it be from a bank or from private equity. And then they talked about AI, artificial intelligence,
and how that will affect, impact the way in which we treat patients, the way in which we diagnose patients, and the accuracy and the speed in which we would do that. And it's interesting to come to these kinds of meetings because of a gathering of individuals that are looking to either have one or multiple practices. It allows a group greater capital to be able to invest in technology, which then that kind of meeting will attract companies that will essentially be interested in promoting the new technology, because new technology usually is very expensive, and for a solo practitioner, it's very difficult to be able to afford that kind of technology that is going to be effective in treating patients more easily and better, faster, more efficiently. And it's going to be difficult to be able to gain that kind of capital to be able to have that back in our practice. But it's wonderful to be able to see it and certainly understand like what's coming. And we had quite a few things that were interesting to be able to talk about. There were so many wonderful speakers. They had the great Gordon Christensen, who talked about who's a prosthodontist as well, like me, who talked about what should we expect in the future. What is it going to be like in terms of new technology, new products? What's it like for new dentists coming out, and how he's been involved with the forefront of dentistry for almost 40 years. And he's been a fabulous teacher, and it was wonderful to listen to him. Other subjects, I believe, were like you said, artificial intelligence. It was interesting to kind of see how that is creeping into our profession. And I think I see it as a way in which I envision technology in analyzing the data, the digital data that we are accustomed to taking, such as digital x-rays, which then from that can be analyzed through computer technology that allows us to understand where cavities are, or where there is breakdown in a tooth. And that can be very subjective, and if we can use big data to allow us to be able to understand that better and diagnose it better and be more accurate, I think it's always going to be pushing us in the right direction.
Right. So one speaker talked about how artificial intelligence can actually get smarter as it goes along and absorbs more data.
I believe they call that independent learning.
Yeah.
That was wild.
Incredible. So he spoke about, I forgot the machine, what it was called, but it would say it was playing chess. It would actually learn as it went on with different games and more experience. It got better and better. And then they also talked about the Japanese board game called Go, and the same thing happened as far as the progressive manner in which it learned, and it actually came up with various strategies that were well beyond a master at that game. So it was incredible.
And I believe that took all the machine about 4 hours to figure all that out, which is becoming a Grand Master champion in 4 hours was pretty incredible to see how that independent learning and that ability for that processor to run through that data so rapidly. Right. It was eye-opening to be able to see that and obviously understand how that would be able to be applied to many aspects of dentistry. And in fact, I believe we actually went live during this live on Facebook during this session, and one of my relatives actually chimed in, and he was in the law profession, and said that, listen, AI is already in the legal profession and will actually create a legal document by inputting data, and within minimal data, and then within a matter of moments would spit out a legal document that she said was, quite frankly, almost exactly accurate. And so A shout out to Dale Proctor for essentially being able to tell me about that one. That was interesting. We know it's coming in dentistry, so if it's going to impact all of our lives in all professions,
Right.
It's coming around the bend if it isn't already there and amongst the early adopters.
You were talking about diagnosis and then treatment planning also then. It would be an application of biology.
I can only imagine that's exactly how it's going to come into play. And in fact, we saw some other technology, which we'll get to, and how I believe that will influence and enhance the ability for patients to be able to have more interaction with their design of their smiles. So we'll get to that one here, but I had a question for Gary because we saw a ton of technology.
Right. Yeah, they had a lot of different vendors there.
A lot of different vendors. It's difficult for us to talk about all of the things that we learned about and saw. So I figured it would be a good idea for us to pick out maybe like, what did you think was the most interesting thing that you saw?
The robotic technology that they had there. That was interesting. So the one thing that I saw and Ben was recording was the Yomi, which is a robotic arm. And this is what it actually looks like here.
We'll post what website to go to,
Yeah.
but that the company is called Neosis, and you go to neosis.com, and that's neocis.com, and that is the company that develops the Yomi. The Yomi is a robotically assisted dental implant placement machine,
Right.
And with the use of cone beam technology, along with the robotic arm and the processor that's there, it essentially helps you to be able to place the implant without using a surgical guide and without having to take the time and the waiting time, which usually takes several weeks, or even maybe it's condensed down to a week, but certainly not on the exact same day that the cone beam X-ray would be taken, or essentially the 3D X-ray that would be exposed on the patient could be used instantly to go help place an implant at that position that you'd like, that you desire, that you pre-planned. It was fabulous.
Right. So I was able to do a live demo, and all you had to do was bring the handpiece over to the site, and so it picks out the location. So once you get it too close to that site, the only way you could move it was in that direction. So it essentially places it at that location, and then you could only turn it and angulate it so that the long axis was in line with the planned implant placement. And so that at that point, the only direction you could move it was down.
Yeah, it just limits you to be able to.
So it limits
the inaccuracy.
Depth. And right. So it's almost like you just press it down.
It's like a drill press.
Limits it, and you can pump it up and down, but that was the only direction. Then you can take it out. Once it was done, then you can move on to the next size drill. But it was very intuitively.
I think you became an
easy
expert
to
in about
use.
30 seconds with it. I think I counted.
Essentially, yes. But so having that type of technology is wonderful. And we have a friend, Dr. Robert Emery, who's developed the XNav, which also marries the cone beam, and of course he uses a camera to scan his handpiece, and that gives you the directional indicators as well as the location. But his system is much more has much more, I guess, variance or variables, so that you can then place it and do the same thing. It will tell you when you are at depth, and also if you're on the same or the exact axis. So that's also something to look into.
And I think what was so impressive, many things about it were impressive, but one of the most impressive things about it was that you're essentially, normally when you're placing an implant during surgery, you have direct vision, direct sight line on the patient. Well, with this technology, whether it be the XNav or the Yomi, you're looking at a screen. You're going to be doing this almost remotely from the patient. So as your hands are in one location, your eyesight is in a completely different location. You don't have this one-to-one sense or visual sense of what you're looking at, except for it is on a video screen, and that video screen would then be able to produce an image that is more accurate than what your eyesight is doing. I don't care if you have magnification. I don't care if you have other tools here, but essentially you're looking at a TV screen. It's like playing a video game.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure that this is going to take a lot of hold with younger individuals who are already attuned to being able to use video games and joysticks, and so it really it's a tremendous advancement, not an inexpensive advancement, but I'm sure the cost will come down at some point in time. I believe that of course the after we saw what it looked like, the question becomes, well, how much does this cost? Well, after I picked up his jaw and mine off the ground, it comes in just a little under $200,000, to be able to invest in this. And I'm sure that over time that would allow for it to pay for itself, but it's something that you have to be very committed to being to use.
Right.
And so that's just one aspect of it. I know that the XNav is not nearly as expensive. It runs off a sort of a different technology, but they both get you there in the same location, same result, with just different vehicle that you're going to go in.
Right. So I'm going to ask Ben the same question.
Which technology did you like?
There was a speaker that we had there that was from Australia, and I think her name was Andrea Shepherdson. And Andrea was a fabulous dentist that was a very impressive presentation. And one of the things that she spoke about was a digital smile design. This is technology that was developed by Christian Coachman, who is a fabulous dentist and dental technician and smile design expert that uses technology such as video, imaging, plus computer data, and then plugs in variables based on patients' input to be able to help design what their smile was going to look like. So it's really what we would love to be able to do, which is incorporate a patient's expectations, their desires, and make them co-diagnosticians in their treatment, which really kind of allows us to be able to be more accurate in understanding what their expectations are so that we can deliver on the end result. It's really about satisfying their expectations, and you only do that unless you know what their expectations are.
That was probably the most impressive part of the lecture that I saw.
Right.
And the delivery of it.
Delivery was amazing.
Incredible.
I think these are things that we all can strive to do, but the missing link often when you don't have video, when you don't have images, and you don't have the ability for the patient to be able to have their own input in, is that we have to be really, really, really good listeners and understand and interpret what the patient says to be able to then understand how we need to design their smile. And then there's usually this gray area that becomes called experience and or luck that allows you to be able to get them to that desired result, but they just don't have a reference point. This gives them a visual reference point, which then we can get much more accurate information out of the patient so that we can then use that to design their smile, the one that they really want. That's what we want. We want the goose pimples to go up our back when they're delivered with that, and the reaction that they get is what we're striving for. That is the reward that we want for every single patient. And this type of technology is a terrific vehicle. I can only see how it's going to soar in the future. And as Dr. Shepherdson said, if you add a little bit of AI, artificial intelligence, into this, I can only see how this is going to become that much more prolific and widespread.
Right. But they also showed her using guides to prepare the teeth.
Right.
It's incredible. Then using guides to actually insert the veneers, right?
So another way in which she showed how technology was being used in addition to the digital smile design was, I believe, a technology called Fit First, or First Fit. First Fit is a digitally guided or planned software that allows you to be able to design minimally prepared porcelain veneers that could be that were designed before the patient is ever actually prepared, meaning any of the teeth have been ground upon. And from a pre-diagnostic workup and design, again, through maybe the smile design system, the DSD design, that the patients have the input to be able to know what their smile is going to look like before it's ever actually done, pre-planned, and guess what? Veneers are made before the teeth are actually cut on. And they give a series of guides that will allow you to be able to shape the teeth as needed so that the pre-made veneers, which are designed by the patient, by the doctor, with the input of everyone, a technician, that are designed so that you can deliver those veneers based upon the kinds of cuts in the teeth that you actually need to make.
Right.
So in one sitting, people can actually have veneers that would have minimal preparation. I think not having any preps on teeth is probably not really wisely done. However, there needs to be some, and this allows them to be able to do it in advance of being able to deliver the veneers, and everything is kind of done in one sitting. I thought that was just a wow experience. I can't wait to be able to explore that a bit more, and this is the reason why we go to these kinds of lectures, so that we can stay ahead of what just might be coming down the pike, what we might be seeing. And sometimes it takes an international type of meeting, an international speaker, to bring that outside of the United States to a meeting such as this one. So we just felt like it was worth our period of time in 108-degree weather, although it wasn't that inside. But boy, it didn't really want to make you go outside during the daytime. It made you want to stay in those lectures, those interesting ones there that we were able to bring back to you and share. So hopefully you get a chance to look these up in the future. And I think that we have a digital smile design, DSD. We have the Yomi by Neosis, and then I guess it's First Fit that I now have some homework that I need to go do and learn a little bit more about to bring it to you, so that I'm delivering the best and we're delivering the best at Smiles International. We did have some live videos that were on Facebook. I suggest that you go to Smiles International Interactive, one of our interactive sites where other dentists are posting latest information so that we can synergistically learn from them. As well as also it's been posted on our Smiles International DC page on Facebook. And I hope that you get a chance to come visit our pages and interact with us in the future. This is the Ben and Gary Show. We know dentistry.